Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Take a good look at this beard right here, because this could be the final edition of NoDQ&A video with this beard. Because at Fastlane, if Roman Reigns turns heel, or if Dean Ambrose turns heel, I will shave off this beard. Also, if Dean Ambrose outright wins the match at Fastlane, I will also shave off the beard. And by the way, just throwing it out there, Dean Ambrose has to be the sole winner. No double pinfall or draw or anything like that. Dean Ambrose has to be the clear-cut winner of the match. And if that happens, first thing Monday morning, I will be shaving off the beard. And yes, I will be recording video of it for those of you asking. Now, with that being said, let's get down to your questions. First one today comes from Ambrose Asylum. Hey Aaron, do you see The Undertaker winning the Vincent J McMahon Award and someone interrupts him and sets up a match at WrestleMania? Please answer in video. One would assume that this is the purpose of WWE doing this segment on next week's Raw. The timing of it seems to indicate that they are going to shoot a major angle during this segment to set up one of the key matches at WrestleMania. Now, you mentioned The Undertaker, and he seems to be the most likely candidate because WWE is hyping up this award as somebody who's very, very deserving. And also, one would think that this is a person that's going to be involved in a match at WrestleMania, and Undertaker fits the criteria. Now, it could be John Cena. John Cena would be another likely option. I think it has to be somebody who's going to be involved in a marquee WrestleMania match. And one thing you could do is have that person come out, accept the award, and then somebody takes exception to that. Somebody's upset. They come out and they confront that person. And just like that, you have your WrestleMania 32 match, which I think, depending on the opponent for Undertaker, that would be the main event at WrestleMania. I think fans would be looking forward to that match more than Triple H defending the WWE title against most likely Reigns or possibly somebody else. And speaking of Undertaker, the big topic, the big news story that's been out right now, I got several questions regarding the Undertaker and WrestleMania, so I've just thrown all these questions into one basic question here. This one comes from the Aaron Rift guy. Rumors have WWE shut down the idea of Owens or Braun Strowman facing Undertaker at WrestleMania. Who else can honestly go up against Taker other than Owens? Please answer in video. So the news story out right now is that WWE has an opponent picked out for The Undertaker, but it's unknown who that opponent is. It's currently a mystery, although names such as John Cena, Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar, and Kevin Owens have been ruled out, supposedly, as the opponent for Undertaker at WrestleMania. And there's also been the speculation that it's going to be somebody who is not active on the roster at this very moment. This has got a lot of people talking. This has got people speculating about Sting, although he needs the neck surgery. Who knows if Sting is healthy enough to even do a match at this point. Other outsiders include Batista. He's always a possibility for a WrestleMania match. Other names, Goldberg is a name that's been thrown out there. It's hard to say. I'm definitely intrigued by this news, and I'm very curious as to who Undertaker's opponent will be. There have been pictures of Undertaker training for WrestleMania, and he looks in phenomenal shape. I don't know if that means he's facing AJ Styles or not. Maybe it's an NXT guy. Maybe Finn Balor. Maybe Samoa Joe. I've seen a lot of names thrown out there, and at this point, I'm hoping it's somebody significant. I mean, I was really dreading the idea of Undertaker versus Braun Strowman, and I think WWE has better sense than to put Undertaker versus Strowman. For WrestleMania 32, you're trying to break the all-time attendance record. It needs to be a significant name. It needs to be somebody worthy of facing The Undertaker, a major superstar, somebody who is credible enough to go head-to-head with The Undertaker at the biggest show of the year. Not a Braun Strowman. If you're trying to make this the biggest WrestleMania of all time, you need to go with a significant name. So, as far as who can face The Undertaker, Any of the names I mentioned, I think would be suitable opponents, even Goldberg. Although I wonder if that would be a match that fans would really want to see. I'm not sure, but Goldberg is a significant name, and Goldberg is a guy like Undertaker that had a streak, so you could use that as part of the promotion. So I'm really curious. I'm not sure who the ideal person is. I mean, if it was my call and he was healthy, I would go with Undertaker versus John Cena, but he might not be ready, despite the fact that he is recovering fast. He might not be ready in time for WrestleMania, and WWE might have to go in another direction. But you want somebody as close to the star power as John Cena as possible for a match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 32. Alright, got this question here from Josh Fuller. Thoughts on the Big Show on the Steve Austin podcast? I thought it was one of the best, and show came off really well. I agree with you. I thought it was a very entertaining podcast. I think Big Show has a very interesting career. He has done so many things over the years, and I think fans do not give him enough credit for his contributions to the wrestling business. He was part of some major moments in wrestling history. He was a major star in WCW when WCW was the #1 promotion in the world. And then he jumped ship to the WWE right when the Attitude Era was reaching its peak. Big Show had WrestleMania moments. He's been in there with just about every major name, from Hogan to Flair to Cena to Undertaker to Shawn Michaels, and the list goes on. Big Show has been in there with all these great talents. And in my opinion, he's a great talent himself. And I'm glad he came off well on this. And, you know, he's just a guy that loves his job and is passionate about what he does. And I do agree with a lot of fans that it's close to him needing to call it a career, and that he's really done all there is to do, and it's time to step aside. I do agree with fans on that. But at the same time, I think fans should be a little bit more respectful for all the things he's done over the years. And one thing about Big Show over the years is people always knock the guy and put him down, and you know, some of it is not his fault. All the heel turns and face turns, you know, that did his character no favors. So, you know, he was booked poorly for a lot of years, but at the same time, he did what he was asked to do. He went out there and wore a diaper against Aki Bono. He went out there and did the comedy, impersonating Hulk Hogan. He did all these things for the sake of entertainment. So I would like to say thank you, Big Show, for all your contributions. And he had a great career, no doubt about it. Definitely one that is Hall of Fame worthy. Alright, moving on here. This one comes from Rude Ben. Do you like Scott Hall's idea for the WrestleMania main event? I think it would be awesome, but I don't think it'll happen. I believe the match was Roman Reigns versus Triple H, where you would have Shawn Michaels in the corner of Triple H and Daniel Bryan as the guest referee, and Steve Austin in Roman Reigns' corner, The Rock in Roman Reigns' corner, something like that. The problem with that idea, I think, is that everybody would get cheered more than Roman Reigns. And I think that it would actually do more to hurt Roman Reigns as a babyface character, having all those other people in that match that the fans like more than Roman Reigns. So, you know, as much of a blockbuster match as that would be, unfortunately, you would need a guy who has more fan support than Roman Reigns, I think, for that match to really be able to live up to its full potential. And I got this one here from Ravishing Raven. Who do you feel was The Undertaker's greatest opponent, storyline-wise? Kane, Mankind, Brock Lesnar, or Shawn Michaels? If we're talking about just pure storylines, I would go with Kane, because they had that lengthy story, brother versus brother. It played out over several years, and then they revisited the feud in 2004, and then they revisited again in 2010. They were a tag team, they were enemies, they went back and forth. There were a lot of layers to that Undertaker and Kane storyline. In terms of just pure match quality, I would go with Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker for their Hell in a Cell match, their WrestleMania match, both WrestleMania matches. And if we're talking about overall storyline plus quality of matches, I would say Mankind. Mankind and The Undertaker had some tremendous matches, and the they had an interesting storyline. You had Paul Bearer turn on The Undertaker and join up with Mankind. So you had an interesting story, and they had several great matches. So, you know, that's my opinion on Undertaker's greatest opponents. Alright, this one comes from AceMaker025. Could WWE make Titus O'Neil an anti-authority figure with his suspension controversy from Raw? They could do anything they want, but will they? I would be very surprised if that happened, because it really pissed off Vince McMahon. They almost fired the guy, apparently, and they did reduce his suspension. I would be shocked if they decided to turn this into a storyline, because then it would just be a waste of time. The whole purpose of suspending him is to send a message to the rest of the roster. So if you bring back the guy and you turn this into a storyline, then you're just telling the rest of the locker room that it's okay to do what Titus did, and they'll give you a storyline and you'll be all right. Unfortunately, I think Titus is going to be lucky if he gets any kind of push at all when he does come back from the suspension, unfortunately for him. Alright, this one comes from Trent Swag 316. What did you think of the heel turn of the Dudley Boyz on Raw, and should they finally win the tag titles at Fastlane? Well, they are not winning the tag team titles at Fastlane. Now, I do feel turning them heel was the right decision. The Dudley Boyz as a face team was really going nowhere, and WWE decided not to give them the tag team title run. I think it really does help the Dudley Boyz be able to have some longevity on the WWE roster, because, you know, up until this point they were essentially a nostalgic act. But now by turning heel, they can play up on that. You have Bubba coming out and cutting the promos, saying they're just as bad as they've ever been. They're the baddest team in the company, and they're not all about nostalgia. I thought it was really well done, and, you know, Bubba's real strength is his promos. And when he's a heel, he's one of the best in the business. So I definitely feel it was the right move to turn them heel in terms of giving them a purpose on the roster and keeping them fresh. Definitely feel it was a good move. Alright, this one comes from Lou E. Is WWE working towards a three-way TLC match at WrestleMania with the New Day, Usos, and the Dudleys? Now, as far as the Dudleys possibly winning the titles at WrestleMania and being involved in a tag team title match, that I could see as a possibility. I mean, I've talked about this before. I would not be surprised, much like the IC title or the women's title, I would not be surprised if there is a multi-team tag team title match at WrestleMania, because WWE's tendencies is to get as many people on the card as possible. They do these multi-person matches so everybody gets their WrestleMania moment and their payday and so forth. So I could see something like that happening, maybe even a 4-team match, 5-team match, you know, any number of possibilities with Dudley's getting involved. Maybe they won't even do a tag team title match. I mean, we know how WWE operates. Sometimes they don't even put much focus on the belts. It could just end up being a 2 teams together against 2 other teams, and an 8-person tag team match, and that'll be the tag team match for WrestleMania. So who knows? Alright, this one comes from Harry Flynn. Do you think that Brock Lesnar will be in this year's Money in the Bank ladder match, or would that be a waste of an appearance? Please answer in video. I think the idea of Brock Lesnar having to prove himself is lame. The fact that they put him in the Royal Rumble, I thought was lame, even though that was realistically the best idea when the WWE title was being defended in that match. But you know, Brock Lesnar had a valid claim. Paul Heyman had a valid claim when they said that Brock Lesnar should face the winner of the Royal Rumble in a match for the WWE title. Because Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. He's a special attraction. He's the beast. He shouldn't have to prove himself. So putting Brock Lesnar in a Money in the Bank match, I'm not a big fan of that. I think it's better to put some of your up-and-comers in the Money in the Bank match and have an up-and-comer win the Money in the Bank briefcase, the next guy you're looking to give a big push to. You know, when Seth Rollins won it, that seemed right. When Sheamus won it, that did not seem right. I would like to see more guys like Seth Rollins and CM Punk and Daniel Bryan winning the Money in the Bank. And if that's the case, you definitely don't want Lesnar in one of those matches where he's not winning the damn thing. Alright, this one comes from Zach. Should the diving headbutt move be banned? It killed Benoit and likely forced Bryan to retire. Please answer in video. I would say yes. I would say that WWE should avoid direct shots to the head as much as possible. And let's face it, the headbutt, every night you're doing damage. And we saw what happened with Chris Benoit. We saw what happened with Daniel Bryan. So I would totally agree 100%. You know, it's a cool looking maneuver, but at the same time, we know now the effects of concussions and what they can do to athletes. And it's just not wise. It's not worth it. Find other moves to do that don't result in banging your head on the mat and a person's body every single night. There are other things you can do. Alright, this one comes from Awesome Robin. When would you say was TNA's peak? I think it was 2005 to mid-2007 with Sting, Angle, Samoa Joe, AJ, Christian, and Jarrett. I would say, as far as the creative and the in-ring product goes, 2005, 2006 was TNA's peak. I would say their peak of popularity and brand recognition, strength of the brand, I would say the end of 2009, right before Hogan and Bischoff came in. I felt that TNA was really starting to gain some momentum when you had Kurt Angle in there and Desmond Wolfe and Joe and Angle and AJ had their rematch, that triple threat, you know, the Turning Point pay-per-view. TNA felt like a company that was majorly on the rise, and you know, they were running pay-per-views in medium-sized buildings and drawing very respectable crowds. I remember some of those shows in 2009, they were doing 4,000 or 5,000 people. So yeah, I would say in terms of momentum as a brand, 2009, but I would say the in-ring product was even better in 2005, and creatively, I felt it was a bit better in 2005 and 2006. That'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Share this video on Facebook and Twitter. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for WWE Fastlane coverage. What will be the fate of the protest beard? We'll find out on Sunday.